All right, it's now been a couple of months since the Dillian Whyte Joshua fight, the Joshua rematch, got pulled on fight week. Actually, a week before the fight, it got pulled, right? And why was it pulled? Because Dillian Whyte tested positive. We don't still, at this moment in time, I'm still not aware of the actual substance being released to the public. We don't actually know technically now. Maybe it has been released and I'm just unaware. But at the time, they didn't exactly disclose what it was that he tested positive for. But since then, and that was what, early August, it's now January in the new year, and we still have not heard a peep out of Dillian Whyte yet, and what the situation is with him moving forward. My guy is proper missing in action. You know, we have these cards over in Saudi going on, and Dillian Whyte has fought in Saudi Arabia. He fought on the Joshua Reese undercard. He fought Marius Vac on very short notice. Didn't look good in that fight for a variety of reasons. He fought on very short notice, as I said. But we still haven't heard a peep from him since that failed test. Now, in one sense, that's a good thing, because a lot of people probably, they do tend to forget, in boxing. That's why I'm amazed Conor Benn was as vocal as he was. And I'm amazed Eddie Hearn let him be so vocal after the whole Eubank debacle going back to 2022. Because Dillian Whyte, when this happened, it was just a case of, right, make a statement and then say nothing. It's radio silence since then. Which, again, in one sense, people do tend to forget. But we're no sooner to figuring out what actually is happening with him. Because Dillian Whyte, right now, it's been, as I said, since August, it's now January. We know literally nothing about what's going on, what's happening with UCAD, what's happening with the British Boxing Board of Control. Can he fight? Can he not fight? When there was that whole UCAD situation, I believe it was before the Rivas fight. But it was only made public after it that he had failed I believe it was a UCAD test. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it was a UCAD test he failed. That was in 2019. Now, at that time in Dillian Whyte's career, that was a pay-per-view. He was headlining pay-per-views. He'd headlined his last couple of fights on pay-per-view. He'd done Parker on pay-per-view. He'd rematched Chisora on pay-per-view. There was actually, Sky were hoping to get an April date between him and Joshua in Wembley Stadium in 2019. That fell apart. Joshua was going to fight Miller, ended up fighting Ruiz and lost. Dillian Whyte, in July of 2019, fought Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas was going off the back of a win over Brian Jennings at the start of 2019. That was a really good fight, actually. Jennings versus Rivas. It was on Top Rank. And that's where that fight came from. Then, obviously, that happened, and Dillian Whyte was exonerated. One of the reasons why he was so out of shape in the Marius Vac fight was because it was just a quick announcement. There you go. I don't think he was he clearly wasn't properly trained, and obviously he was in the 270s, I think, for that fight. But at that time in Whyte's career, he was a cash cow. He wasn't at the level of a Joshua, wasn't at the level of a Fury, people like that. But in terms of the UK, you probably would have said that Joshua and Fury, rightly so, were ahead of him. But he probably would have been, round about there in the top 3, or certainly the top 5 of UK cash cows at the time. He was, again, doing pay-per-views. So Dillian Whyte was known. He was a star. Eddie Hearn doing pay-per-view. And those cards were very good, the Dillian Whyte pay-per-view shows. They were very, very good shows. Normally had stacked undercards on them. So Dillian Whyte had a lot of sway back then. You fast forward to 2023, when this happens, Dillian Whyte has lost to Povetkin. And yeah, he avenged the loss, but still, knockout loss to Povetkin. Looked terrible against Tyson Fury. Struggled to a points decision against Jermaine Franklin, who was very unknown. And, Franklin did take Joshua to a decision as well. So it does show that Franklin, somewhat durable. Dillian Whyte, he really laboured in that fight. And there was talk that he would have fights in the early part of 2023. There was even talk of him versus Otto Dillian at some points, and I heard about that from a few different sources. Never materialised. They were trying to do the Joshua rematch. And it was weird the way there was so much, because do you remember at the time, there was so much back and forth, because it was like, it's happening, it's not happening, it's happening, it's not happening. And it wasn't from Joshua. Joshua was just like, look, just let me fight. It was all from Dillian Whyte, Eddie Hearn. It was like this and this and this and this. Makes it pretty obvious kind of what was going on behind the scenes, obviously, because obviously what happened. But at this stage now, he was seen as the away fighter. In fact, actually, in 2022, there was a lot of talk that potentially Whyte was going to go in there against Daniel Dubois. And again, he'd be the away fighter when Dubois had the regular title. So he fell hard. I don't say he fell hard, but he'd fallen from being the head of the show, the pay-per-views, to being seen as kind of the away fighter. So with that, you lose a lot of privileges, and they ain't going to do you any favors. You know, the British Boxing Board of Control, UCAD and stuff like that. So for me, it was always a case of the book's going to get thrown at Dillian Whyte. They are going to absolutely throw the book. It's not going to be a slap on the wrist. They're going to throw the book at you. Because I think that's his third failed test. He had the Jack 3D. He had the UCAD issue in 2019 and now this. And I think there might have been another one there, maybe in kickboxing or something. But they're the ones in Queensbury boxing. So Dillian Whyte is someone who, he's definitely a tree is known by his fruits, as the saying goes. And right now, we don't know what's going on with him. My guy is proper missing in action. And I'm wondering what's going on. Does he know something that we don't? Is he planning on fighting elsewhere? Is he planning on doing a different... Again, I'm asking these questions because I don't know. I mean, Dillian Whyte has got to be well in his 30s now. His chin looks absolutely shot to bits. Is he going to get any big fights from anywhere? I did say that if there was a way for him to fight, if I was Frank Warren, I'd be looking at Dillian Whyte as a potential opponent for Dubois even now. Dubois riding the crest of a wave after that performance against Jarrell Miller. But that's solely on the basis that he's able to fight again. We are literally none the wiser with regards to this whole situation. At least with, Conor Benn, the whole process started pretty quickly. It was the BBC, UCAB were trying to do this, British Boxing Board of Control, etc. With this, it's like we are hearing nothing. Nothing from Dillian Whyte, nothing from anybody. And I don't even recall hearing Eddie Hearn mention it in any recent interviews, or certainly any interviews in the past month or so. So what is the deal with this? Where is Dillian Whyte and what actually is going on? Because it's seeming like radio silence right now. Absolute radio silence. So let me know your thoughts. I can't really comment further on it because, again, until we really see some information on this come out, we really have nothing to go on. So I'll leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Little quick one. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we'll see Dillian Whyte again? Do you think we'll see him in 2024? Or do you think that whatever happens, that's the end? That's the end. Let me know. Leave it there. Peace.